Hey everyone, I wanted to go over how to upload assignments to GitHub again using Git. So we're going to start by creating a new repository in GitHub, and this is where you're going to push all of your assignments to. So I'm going to say let's create a new repository, and typically on an assignment it will tell you what to call the repository. So it might be something like ITP 404-assignment1. So it looks like I already created that, so I'll say assignment 2. Okay, so from here, we've set it up. Now we're going to go ahead and open up Terminal, which I've already done. And you can do that using Finder. So if you just do Control space, or let's see, Command space on a Mac and just type in Terminal, you can see that, and then just hit Enter. Okay, so Terminal is kind of like your way of navigating around your computer, similar to how you use Finder windows on a Mac to basically, it's a graphical user interface for navigating around. Terminal is the same thing, but it's just using commands. And so what we're going to do is, last week we kind of learned about a few basic commands, which were, one of them was pwd, which stands for print working directory. So it kind of tells you where you are on your terminal. Right now I'm inside user/d1015, which is my home directory. And we also learned about ls, which says list out all the files in my current directory. And then we also learned about cd, which means change directory. So we can change, this allows us to basically move around the file system. So I can say, let's cd to the desktop. And if you notice, if I just type in desk and hit tab, it will autocomplete. So I can do that. I can say ls, and I can see what's on my desktop. So I'm going to make a sample project. I'm going to say make dir assignment 2. I'm just kind of making something. I could have created these folders using right clicks and stuff, but make dir is kind of another command for creating a folder. So I can cd into assignment 2, and I can also create files using the touch command. So I could say touch index.html, touch main.css. And if I just do ls, we can see here are the two files that I created. So these are just empty files. You don't really have to know the make dir command or the touch command. I'm just kind of showing some extra commands that you can do on the terminal. Okay, to initialize a Git repository, to basically set it up on your computer, once you already had Git installed, you can say git init. And now I basically initialized a Git repository in this folder. So now I'm kind of tracking all the different files. So now I can say git status, and this will kind of tell me the status of my repository. So I can see there's 2 untracked files. So I'm going to say git add --all, and I can run git status again. And now you can see that by running that git add command, I've taken the 2 untracked files and put them on like what they call a staging area. So so that's why it says changes to be committed. So you can think of a commit as kind of like a point in time in the history of your project. So you're going to have, you can think of your project, it's going to have this timeline and a bunch of different commits, which are different points that you can revert back to. So I've put them on this staging area, and now I want to make a commit. So I'm going to say git commit -m, and the -m, it stands for message. So each commit has a message tied to it. So in this case, I'll say created the main files. Typically, you'd probably have something a little bit more descriptive, but this will do for now. So now if I say git status, it's going to say nothing to commit, working tree clean. So I don't have any changes at this point. So basically, I've created my first snapshot on in my Git repository, and this is all just living on my computer. You can type in things like git log, and this will kind of list out all the different commits in your project. So in this case, I only have 1 commit, which I made at this time, and here was the message. Okay, so now at this point, maybe I finished my assignment and I want to push it up to GitHub. So now I'm going to say, I want to go back to this page right here, and I'm going to say copy this. We'll go back to terminal and then paste it here. And what this is basically saying is git remote add origin. So we're adding so right now we have a local Git repository on our computer, and we're saying I want to connect it to a remote repository that's on GitHub called origin, and it's at this HTTP address. So when I hit enter, now it's essentially it knows about this origin repository that lives on GitHub. So now I can say the next command, which is git push -u origin master. So I'll paste that here. And this will basically upload it to GitHub. So this might take a second. And then once it finishes, if you go back to GitHub and refresh, you'll see here are the two files. You can click on the one commit, and you can see, look at what was done here. So if I open this up, you can see there's two files, but there was really nothing in the file. So that's typically how you would upload your assignment. Now, you might realize later on, like, oh, you forgot to do something on the assignment. You forgot one requirement, so you need to make some changes and then push it up again. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to open up this folder with Atom, which is the editor I'm using. You can use whatever editor you want, but in this case, I'm using Atom. And let's just add an HTML tag. So we'll do that here. And inside the CSS file, we'll say like body, text, align, center. Okay. So now if I go back to terminal and I say git status, it says, okay, these two files have been modified. So I can run that same command, git add --all. So this will kind of put these two changes on the staging area. So it's about to be committed. So if I run git status again, we can see these are the changes to be committed. And then I can say git commit -m added boilerplate. Okay, and so we've made these changes. Now, it's not actually pushed up to GitHub just yet. We just made the commit. So now we have to type in git push, and this will push it up to GitHub. So this will basically upload it again. So if I refresh, now you can see that there's two commits, and you can see that here's our latest changes. So that's kind of how you work with Git and GitHub. Those are kind of the main commands you'll be running over and over again. It just takes a little bit of practice. There's also a GUI that you can look up. It's called GitHub GUI. There's a few out there, and it's free. So if you want to check those out, you can. They're basically doing the same thing. But I think it's always good to kind of understand just the terminal version of what's going on. And then using the GUI gets a little easier. If you go back to terminal and you run git log, you can see, okay, here's the two commits. So you can kind of see what has been done on the project. So hope that helps, and let me know if you have any questions.